the sun lingers at the edge of the world, a burning eye casting its eternal gaze over the vast expanse of salt and stone. Death Valley, a name both feared and revered, lies sprawled beneath the weight of the sky, where the earth itself appears to breathe with the slow pulse of ancient time. The valley is silent now, yet its history whispers through the cracks in the soil, carried by the winds that have sculpted it into the furnace of the world. In the morning light, the salt flats shimmer like a mirage. 1,000 years of evaporation have carved this landscape into a still life of desolation. The earth is cracked, a map of forgotten rivers and long-dead lakes. The dryness, the emptiness hums in the air, thick with the weight of unspoken stories. The mountains, once jagged with fire, rise on all sides like silent sentinels, their faces weathered by centuries of wind and sun. They stand guard over this forsaken land, their peaks kissed by the soft golden hues of dawn. In this vast nothingness, the heat takes on a life of its own, an invisible hand that presses down, urging all living things to retreat into the shadows. But there are no shadows here, not on the flats, not in the open spaces. The sun has claimed its kingdom, and its rule is absolute. It paints the land in harsh strokes of gold and grey, where the horizon bends and breaks. In a cruel, endless stretch of mirage, the very earth seems to melt, the heat rising in waves, blurring the distant mountains like some cruel trick of the mind. Yet, for all its violence, there is a strange beauty here, one that can only be seen when the land has been stripped bare. The dunes rise like ghosts, their forms shifting with each gust of wind, sculpted by the ancient breath of the earth. Each grain of sand, each ripple in the earth's skin tells a story of creation and destruction. desert itself is a witness to the slow, grinding passage of time, where everything is reduced to dust, and from that dust, new forms emerge, shifting, eternal. At the edge of the valley, where the salt flats meet the towering cliffs, lies a reminder of another world. The mines, now empty, stand like forgotten temples. Once they echoed with the clatter of picks and the cries of men struggling to draw life from the earth. Now only silence reigns. The machinery that once tore through the rock, searching for treasures buried deep beneath the surface, lies rusted and still. Yet even here, in the heart of decay, there is a certain quiet majesty. These old abandoned places are not forgotten. They are part of the valley's story, written in the crumbling walls and the rusted tools. As the day wanes, the colors of the desert shift, softening into a quiet palette of reds and oranges. The sun dips lower and the air begins to cool, though the ground retains the heat of the day, a reminder of its unrelenting thirst. The sky, once harsh and pale, deepens into a vibrant canvas. The mountains, now tinged with the last rays of light, seem to burn with a quiet intensity. The valley, no longer a furnace, becomes something else, a place of reflection, a space for contemplation. where the earth breathes and whispers in the stillness. Night falls like a curtain, heavy and soft. The stars, unbroken by light pollution, emerge in their thousands, hanging in the velvet sky like distant promises. The valley, once full of the harsh glare of day, is now a sanctuary of silence. The only sound is the faint rustle of the wind, carrying the coolness of the evening. The memory of the heat still hanging in the air like an aftertaste. The vast emptiness, the space between the stars, the land below. They are all one now, a singular, unbroken whole. The furnace has cooled, leaving behind a quiet, reflective peace. In the dark, the valley feels alive again, not in the sense of growth or movement, but in the sense of quiet endurance. It has borne witness to everything: the rise and fall of empires, the passage of countless seasons, the eternal dance of time. And still it stands, unchanged. The earth has its own rhythms, its own unhurried heartbeat, and in its slowness, in its patience, it holds the world together. Here, in the quiet of night, Death Valley reveals itself, not as a place of destruction, but as a place of creation. It is not the end, but the beginning. A furnace, yes, but a furnace of transformation, where life and death, heat and cold, light and dark, all exist together in delicate balance. And as the stars look down, so too does the valley watch, waiting for the next chapter of its story to unfold. beneath the arid expanse of Death Valley, lies a history far older than the human eye can comprehend, a story told in rocks, faults, and volcanic eruptions. The valley, a masterpiece of nature's raw power, was shaped over millions of years by tectonic forces that continue to mold its landscape. Here, the Earth tells a tale of conflict, compression, and the unrelenting march of time. The forces that have shaped Death Valley originated deep within the Earth's crust, where tectonic plates converge and pull apart in a gradual rhythm of pressure and release. The valley itself sits within the Basin and Range province, a vast area where the land is being stretched and pulled apart. This stretching is a product of tectonic activity that creates fault lines, deep valleys, and towering mountain ranges. The most prominent of these faults is the San Andreas Fault, a seismic scar that stretches across California. Here, the valley is being torn apart by the strike-slip faults, where one side of the fault slides past the other, stretching the landscape in both directions. It's as if the Earth itself is taking a deep breath, drawing in the forces of nature, and then exhaling a long, slow sigh that stretches the land over time. This stretching creates the valley's deep depressions, like the Badwater Basin, the lowest point in North America. The land here sinks as the Earth is pulled apart, creating valleys that stretch down into the heart of the planet. These valleys are both a consequence of and a tribute to the slow, powerful forces of plate tectonics. Beneath the surface, the forces of the Earth continue to reshape the land, leaving behind remnants of ancient eruptions that once filled the sky with fire and ash. As water evaporated, it left behind thick layers of salt, creating the white, glittering expanse that stretches as far as the eye can see. But it's the deep geological history of this basin that holds the real fascination. Badwater Basin is a remnant of a time when tectonic forces were still shaping the valley, forming the bedrock beneath the salt. The salt flats are more than just a flat, white canvas. They are a testament to the valley's ongoing transformation. As the tectonic plates continue to shift, the landscape here is subtly but continually reshaped. The fiery birth of Death Valley didn't end with the grinding of tectonic plates. It was also shaped by volcanic eruptions that once rained down ash and molten rock across the landscape. The valley's volcanic rocks tell the story of violent eruptions that shaped its present-day form. While much of Death Valley's current landscape is defined by tectonic faulting, volcanic eruptions have left their mark as well. The valley is dotted with remnants of lava flows, calderas, and volcanic craters, each one a reminder of the valley's explosive past. One of the most striking remnants of volcanic activity is Ubehebe Crater, a massive, bowl-shaped depression formed by an explosive volcanic event thousands of years ago. The crater's steep, jagged walls and the surrounding desert landscape offer a dramatic glimpse into the valley's violent past. volcanic ash and debris still litter the area, a lasting legacy of a time when the Earth was far more active and the landscape was far less hospitable. These volcanic remnants are a vital part of the valley's ongoing geological transformation. Though they appear dormant today, they are a reminder of the forces that continue to shape the land, even in silence. Yet, despite the power of these tectonic forces and volcanic eruptions, the valley's beauty lies not only in its geological history, but in the way life has adapted to these extremes. The very geology that has shaped this land has also created the conditions that allow life to thrive. As we leave behind the geological history of Death Valley, we turn our focus to the unpredictable forces of nature that govern this land, where the weather too plays a role in the ever-changing landscape, testing the limits of survival. In a place where the land appears to seethe under the unforgiving sun, the weather in Death Valley becomes a force of nature that rivals the terrain itself. Here, the sky seems both distant and immediate, a realm of endless extremes. This chapter delves into the heart of Death Valley's weather. Rare rainfall that sparks an explosion of color, dust storms that engulf the landscape in a choking haze, and temperature extremes that redefine the limits of what is survivable. The most surprising phenomenon in this barren, sun-scorched valley is the rain. While Death Valley might be one of the driest places on Earth, rainfall in the region, though scarce, brings forth a remarkable transformation. The valley, when it rains, is capable of experiencing an explosion of life, as the arid earth soaks in the precious water, and desert wildflowers spring to life in a dazzling array of colors. This fleeting event, often occurring only once every few years, is enough to turn the dusty expanse into a vibrant oasis. The wildflowers bloom in a brilliant ephemeral carpet, casting their colorful hues across the valley floor. The desert floor, once hardened and cracked from years of drought, becomes soft, lush and alive, with delicate blossoms that last only a few weeks before the dry conditions return. These bursts of color, driven by rainfall, offer a stark contrast to the otherwise barren desert landscape. The valley's rainbow of wildflowers seems like a dream, a momentary miracle before the sun reclaims its dominion. One of the most terrifying features of Death Valley's weather is the dust storm. These sand-laden tempests roll across the valley with little warning, transforming the landscape into a swirling chaos of dirt and debris. The winds can pick up at speeds so high that visibility is reduced to mere feet. For those caught in their path, the sandstorm can feel like a suffocating, choking cloud that blocks out the sun and casts the valley into a twilight-like gloom. Dust storms, although brief, are powerful enough to reshape the desert's surface, pushing sand and dirt into new forms, erasing tracks and altering the appearance of the landscape. As the winds howl across the valley, the dust moves like an ocean, covering everything in its path, leaving nothing untouched by the harshness of nature's breath. In contrast to the violent fury of the dust storms, Death Valley is also a land of extremes, where the temperature shifts dramatically between day and night, pushing the limits of what life can endure. Death Valley is notorious for its temperature extremes, and it is here that the valley's brutal reputation is truly earned. In the blistering heat of summer, the valley has recorded some of the highest temperatures ever recorded on Earth. Furnace Creek, in particular, holds the infamous distinction of being the hottest place on Earth, with temperatures routinely climbing above 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius. The sun blazes down with a fury that seems almost unnatural, turning the ground to molten rock and making the very air shimmer with heat. During these intense summer months, the temperature does not just rise, it warps the very nature of the land. The heat distorts the horizon, creating mirages that trick the eye into seeing pools of water that do not exist. For those who must endure the heat, survival is a matter of resilience and strategy. Seeking shelter, conserving water, and facing the challenge head-on. However, the valley's temperature extremes don't end when the sun sets. As night falls, the temperature plummets, creating an astonishing contrast. Where the day's heat can melt the earth, the night's chill can freeze it, creating a stark reminder of the valley's dual nature. Where heat and cold exist in violent opposition. The diurnal temperature range in Death Valley is one of the largest in the world, and this extreme shift between day and night creates conditions that few places on Earth could ever experience. In a matter of hours, the temperature can swing from a scorching 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius, during the day to a chilly 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, or less at night. The extremes of weather in Death Valley, though fierce, are simply a part of its natural rhythm, as the land continues to shift and change in response to both the forces of nature and the forces of time. But as the valley bears witness to these wild, unpredictable forces of nature, it has also played a central role in the human story, a land of dreams, challenges, and discovery. Death Valley, with its inhospitable heat, desolate landscapes and extreme temperatures, has not only shaped the flora and fauna that call it home, but also left an indelible mark on the human story. This land, which seems to push back against every attempt at settlement, has witnessed the passage of time through the struggles, dreams, and survival instincts of those who dared to call it home. Long before European explorers and miners arrived, Death Valley was home to indigenous peoples who learned to live within its harsh conditions. The Timbisha Shoshone were the first to inhabit the valley, living in this unforgiving terrain for thousands of years. The Timbisha, whose name means rock eaters, thrived in the valley by adapting to its extreme environment, creating a deep connection to the land. The Shoshone people knew the valley's rhythms and the ways of survival that the landscape demanded. They used the plants of the desert for food, medicine, and tools, with the creosote bush and Joshua trees providing vital resources. Their homes were often built near springs and oases, where the temperature was bearable and water could be accessed. Despite the harshness of the environment, the Timbisha Shoshone lived in harmony with the land. Their way of life was interwoven with the natural forces of Death Valley, the weather, the flora, and the fauna. The valley was both a sanctuary and a challenge, and the Shoshone's resilience in the face of such adversity speaks volumes about their connection to the land. But as the world outside began to change, new settlers, explorers, and dreamers arrived, drawn by the promises of wealth and discovery hidden beneath the valley's dry surface. In the late 19th century, Death Valley became a prime target for exploration and exploitation. The promise of riches beneath the earth, gold, silver, and borax, lured miners to this remote region. The first explorers to enter the valley often viewed it as an obstacle, a wasteland to be traversed on their way to better prospects. But once the mineral wealth was discovered, Death Valley became a land of dreams and promises. The mining rush began in the 1840s, when the first reports of gold and other minerals reached the ears of fortune seekers. But the landscape was not forgiving, and many miners who ventured into the valley never returned. The Death Valley. 49ers, a group of pioneers who found themselves trapped in the valley, gave it its name after enduring a harsh winter with little food or water. Despite the adversity, mining operations sprang up across the valley. Borax, a mineral used in soaps and cleaning products, was discovered in large deposits and became a key resource. The discovery led to the formation of companies like the Pacific Coast Borax Company, which operated the famous 20-mule team wagons to transport borax across the desert to railroads. These teams became symbolic of the valley's mining history and a reminder of the grueling conditions miners endured to extract riches from the unforgiving soil. But the promise of riches wasn't the only thing that Death Valley offered. There was also a rush for something far more elusive, a legacy of wealth and power, driven by the gold rush that would ultimately leave its mark on the valley forever. The gold rush of the mid-19th century brought waves of miners, adventurers, and fortune seekers to Death Valley, hoping to strike it rich. Though the valley didn't become as famous for gold as California's other gold fields, the discovery of small gold deposits was enough to fuel a new wave of exploration. The harsh conditions, however, kept many away from claiming the area as their home. the towns of Rhyolite and Stovepipe Wells became symbols of the fleeting hope that miners held in their hearts, only to find that Death Valley, once again, would not give up its treasures easily. Yet, even as miners left, the memory of the gold rush remained a part of the valley's story. The impact of the gold rush, although short-lived, was significant. It altered the course of human history in the valley and beyond, bringing new settlers, industry, and infrastructure that would forever change the landscape of the American West. As we reflect on the fleeting human presence in this land of extremes, we turn to the preservation efforts that protect the valley's fragile ecosystem. Today, Death Valley stands not only as a testament to nature's power, but as a sanctuary where the delicate balance of life continues to be preserved.